welcome back to another Artifact Corner. Today we will be looking at a small book that belonged to our Frances Henrietta Delord Webb. The book was published in 1820, and at the very top of the page, in pencil, Frances wrote her name, F.H. Delord Webb. The book is in French, which is not surprising as Frances Henrietta was bilingual. Her dad, Henry Delord, was born and raised in Nisme France, and his native language was obviously French. He taught his daughter French so that he could speak his native language with his daughter. Frances and her husband, Henry Webb, traveled to Europe on their honeymoon. This book was published in Paris, so it could be where she bought the book. Let's learn a bit more about Aesop's Fables. So, who was Aesop? The answer is we're not really sure. There is every possibility that he might not even have existed. There is also a chance that he was not Greek. Recorded in the Byzantine encyclopedia, the Suda, places his birth in the region of Phrygia in the northwest of modern Turkey. What we do know is the retelling of who Aesop was. Here is a quote from the University of Massachusetts Amherst website. The legend tells it that Aesop lived during the 6th century BCE. Scholars have narrowed down his birthplace to a few different places, but no one knows for sure. He was born a slave, and in his lifetime had 2 different masters who owned him before being granted his freedom. The slave masters were named Xanthus and Edmon, and later gave him his freedom as a reward for his wit and intelligence. As a freedman, he supposedly became involved in public affairs and traveled a lot, telling his fables along the way. His fables are meant to convey a practical or moral lesson to the listener. Let's read one of Aesop's fables, The Frogs Who Wished for a King. The frogs were tired of governing themselves. They had so much freedom that it had spoiled them, and they did nothing but sit around croaking in a bored manner and wishing for a government that could entertain them with the pomp and display of royalty and rule them in a way to make them know they were being ruled. No milk and water government for them, they declared, so they sent a petition to Jupiter asking for a king. Jupiter saw what simple and foolish creatures they were, but to keep them quiet and make them think they had a king, he threw down a huge log, which fell into the water with a great splash. The frogs hid themselves among the reeds and grasses, thinking the new king to be some fearful giant. But they soon discovered how tame and peaceable King Log was. In a short time, the younger frogs were using him for a diving platform, while the older frogs made him a meeting place, where they complained loudly to Jupiter about the government. To teach the frogs a lesson, the ruler of the gods now sent a crane to be king of Frogland. The crane proved to be a very different sort of king from the old King Log. He gobbled up the poor frogs right and left, and they soon saw what fools they'd all been. In mournful croaks, they begged Jupiter to take away the cruel tyrant before they should all be destroyed. "How now?" cried Jupiter. "Are you not yet content? You have what you asked for, and so you only have yourselves to blame for your misfortunes." Whether or not Aesop actually existed, the fables that have been attributed to him have continued to make people think and ask meaningful questions thousands of years later. Our book is in okay condition. It is missing a couple of pages and has some obvious wear, but the book is 206 years old, so it's unsurprising. It is a beautiful book, and we are so lucky to have it in our collections. Thanks so much for stopping by.